He's editor-in-chief of Breitbart News and a New York Times best-selling author. And on this podcast, he brings deep research, prescient analysis, and world-class guests. He's Alex Marlow, and this is The Alex Marlow Show.
Welcome to The Alex Marlow Show. Let's party. Get those moves. That's too good. It's the if you're not watching on video, and you don't have to be. I think the shows mostly work on audio. I'm an audio guy, but most people are telling me they're digging the video on YouTube and Rumble. But that was the President of the United States, Donald Trump, doing the Trump dance to the YMCA in a three-piece suit, I guess a tuxedo, monkey suit. And are you allowed to say monkey suit now, or is that canceled? But we're back now. Trump's president, so you can say things that are edgy. He's got a saber. He's holding a saber. That was at the Commander-in-Chief ball, which is the first of the three inaugural balls he has to attend. And it's great. We're in a celebratory mood. We are moving forward. There's a lot of complaints I've got, too. We'll get to those in the show. But I will start with the good news, and it is great news. There was a fun party yesterday. I did not go. I elected not to go. It was an interesting call for me because sometimes I had the opportunity to go. I got invited to a lot of stuff, and it's so logistically challenging to get out there. And there's so many people, such a swarm of humanity. Do you guys thrive in that environment? As I don't. I don't thrive in an environment where I'm swarmed by millions of people. I always like to have a nice conversation with people, have a chance to catch up, to linger in the moment. But it's just shuttling around and frozen cold. And you know what happens to me is I get behind on my work, and that makes me anxious. I wouldn't say anxious, but it makes me peeved, irritated. So I elected not to go to follow the festivities from the comforts of my home office. And it was great. It was still a great celebration. A lot of smiles on my face throughout the day. Hopefully all of you felt the same way. And he's off to the races, full steam ahead. 78 Biden executive actions rescinded. This is one of the things that's an interesting lesson, that executive actions can be repealed by the stroke of a pen and a phone, as the expression goes. I don't know where the phone came in. I think that's kind of riffing off of an Obama quote or something. It's whatever it is. But the point is that you can undo executive actions as fast as you started them. And that's one of the things that's a risk. So if you do an executive action, you got to keep winning in order for them to be preserved into law. It's not a big process to undo it. You just undo it. So DEI programs, EV mandates, benefits for illegal aliens, so much more President Trump has just erased from Joe Biden. And we're going to keep a running list of all the great stuff President Trump is doing. Joel Pollack has taken it upon himself to do this for us. And by taking it upon himself, meaning I have assigned it to him. So we will have that for you. It's on the front page right now at Breitbart.com if you're picking up the show pretty quick. And if not, you can just look for Joel's byline for us. But we're listing all the executive actions on day one. I'm going to read you some of these. There's 70. Oh, I'm sorry. No, it's gone up since I even started the show. 118. Wow, that's nice. 118. As of the beginning of the recording of the show, the reports are he's going to get up to a full 200. I'll give you a taste of it, but obviously it's there's so much more to it. But he's going to make equity rather than equality the focus of federal policy, worthy of much longer explanation, but just know it's good news. He is rescinding the ban on private prisons. He's rescinding the prioritization of DEI and federal hiring. I called this last week. We got to ban all DEI. It really shouldn't just be federal. It should be across the country because it's racist. He's going to ban the restrictions on offshore drilling and gas development. He's banning the imposition of sanctions on Israelis linked to the political right. He's rescinding Cuba's designation as he's rescinding Biden's order to rescind. So he's double reverse rescinding Cuba's designation as a state sponsor of terrorism. So once again, Cuba will be a state sponsor of terrorism. That didn't last very long. Biden flipped that policy. Trump flipped it right back. He is rescinding Biden's order to allow transgender individuals to serve in the military. So good. So good. The list goes on. You got to read it. I can't go do all of it, but we got an emergency at the southern border. That's good. We've withdrawn from the World Health Organization. This is so big and important to me. This is near and dear to my heart because at Breitbart, we've spent years combating this treaty that the World Health Organization has, which would give it unilateral power to declare a pandemic or even an epidemic. And what this would mean is that it would have a huge level of power in terms of how resources are deployed, how individual countries take care of their own citizens, sovereign countries, in the moments that matter most, which is a public health crisis. I mean, that is really the number one goal of the government, is to keep you alive and well. So if there really is a pandemic, why would we trust the globalist freaks at the World Health Organization, led by Dr. Tedros, who's not a medical doctor, he's something else, and is deeply corrupt, people who have been caught. Do you know how much child rape goes on at some of these UN camps around the world? It's just true. This isn't conspiracy stuff. It's just facts. These are organizations that go around the world plundering and pillaging. And we've entrusted them with determining how we respond to pandemics. No, thank you. Let's get out of that business. We've been complaining about this for years at Breitbart. It just gets wiped off the map in one fell swoop. Trump just says we're done. It's over. This thing for years, this would have been a lead story at Breitbart News almost every day of the year. And I don't know, we buried it somewhere. I mean, we can't even elevate all the good news that's happening. There's so much winning. We're out of the Paris Climate Accords. One I don't like, suspending the TikTok ban. I don't even know if Trump can do this. So there's one I don't like. First one. Let's see, declaring a national energy emergency. We're withdrawing offshore wind leases temporarily. I love that. We mentioned that on yesterday's show. We're reorganizing the National Security Council, obviously. We are enforcing existing immigration laws to the fullest and repealing every directive otherwise, like that. We're reopening the ANWR, Alaska Energy Resources, in Arctic National Wildlife Reserve. Those of you who are my age and older recall that this was a huge focus for Republicans, 10, 15 years ago, a little longer probably, that we have all these massive amounts of energy buried beneath the ground in Alaska. And again, because of environmental reasons, we've elected not to go get it. Trump started to, and then Biden stopped, and now we're back on it. We're going to prioritize skill, not DEI, in federal hiring. We're ending government DEI programs, recognizing two genders, male and female, designating the Mexican cartels as foreign terrorist organizations. This is so good. Brandon Darby, who is our top reporter on this, our Cartel Chronicles at Breitbart, he's explained this to me, that politicians in border states are really surrogates of the cartels at this point, which are international criminal organizations, and they control these regions at our border. And this will allow, this new policy for Trump, U.S. politicians to go after corrupt Mexican politicians that protect the cartels. You go after them financially, and they funnel money to these cartels and these criminal enterprises. So they're dependent on the politicians, and now we have a much more leeway, we have much wider berth of the things we can do, both militarily and in terms of our legal means to cut off the source of their funding. We'll spend shows detailing a lot of this, but I want to keep giving you an overview because there's so much to do. But just great news. Something, again, at Breitbart, there are stories going back maybe more than 10 years, definitely 8 or 9 years, but maybe more than 10 years of us covering this, where we're saying we need to designate the cartels international criminal organizations. I had meetings with the Trump White House, the first administration, and said, you guys need to do this. This needs to get done. And just like that, boom, it gets done. And we can't even make it a lead story because we're too busy doing all the winning that we're doing. Just amazing. Freezing all new federal regulations pending a review. We're freezing the hiring of federal employees. I like that. Got to make sure that we're only getting the best, no one else. national emergency at the southern border, establishing America First trade policy, including a review of trade with China, establishing tariffs. Just getting started. Just getting started. It's going to be nonstop. All right. So you know my commitment to you that I won't bring you products I wouldn't use myself or recommend to my own family. And I've got something today that checks all the boxes of health, longevity, and real measurable results. I'm talking about the Juvent Micro Impact Platform. It's cutting edge technology. There's nothing else on the market like it. You've heard me talk about how we sit around way too much at work and traffic, on the couch. It's a sedentary lifestyle we Americans have too often these days. So some of you get joint pain, you get stiff muscles, weakened bones. For me, I get back pain. But Juvent changes the game. Their platform uses cutting-edge science to deliver micro impacts that help you improve your joint health. The technology was developed for astronauts coming home from outer space, and it actually makes sense, doesn't it? I'll be honest, I ran this by some of the trusted voices in my life. I'm talking about board-certified doctors in my family, and they said flat out, this technology is legit. Here's why. When your bone density declines, particularly as you age, your ability to move does as well. So we don't all have time or the inclination to walk 100,000 steps a day. You've heard me say that. But exercising your bones keeps them metabolically active. And this is going to have downstream health benefits. Recovery, strength, joint pain, balance, whatever your goals are. If you're already an athlete, then you're still getting older. We all are. And you're going to need all the help you can get on your recovery. If you're getting up in years, maybe one of your parents is getting up in years, then this could be what gets them mobile again. Here's the best part. I've been incorporating Juvent into my routine with basically zero effort. I hop on the platform 10 to 20 minutes a day. I do 20 because I'm robust, and it helps activate areas of the body that are basically neglected when you're just sitting around and doing your work and scrolling or whatever. So I've got my routine down. In the morning, I get the editorial call going for Breitbart. I hop on my Juvent, and my team fills me in on all the news. I used to spend that time sitting on the couch, and now I spend it getting stronger just by standing and enjoying the view out of my window. So you can make your scrolling time more productive, your TV time, call your mom, whatever. It's the easiest thing you can do to give your body some maintenance and keep yourself healthy and active for the long haul. This is something you can do that's good for your health, that's safe, efficient, and especially convenient. Juvent's built to last. Every platform comes with a 10-year limited warranty with financing options, and you can use FSA funds. Plus, since the software calibrates each time someone steps onto it, the Juvent platform is a product that your whole family can use. So if you're not loving it after 6 weeks, Juvent's going to buy it back from you. So you don't even have to take my word for it. You can literally just give it a shot. Try it out. Go to juvent.com/Marlowe and use the code Marlowe at checkout for an exclusive $500 off offer. Take control of your health in 2025. See the results for yourself. Juvent.com/Marlowe. Use the code Marlowe at checkout. $500 off. Give this thing a shot. You guys got to be happy about this. No more coronavirus mandates if there's any in place, and restrictions. Those go away. No longer going to include illegal aliens in the census. Here's why you don't include them in the census. I would like to know how many there are. But what happens is when they're included in the census, that swells the amount of people in a given state, which gives blue states more electoral votes. So that is not a good policy for Trump. All good. All good. Happy time. So much going on. I want to try to get a sense of what the left is up to right now. So I had Misty today. I said before the show, can we figure out what the lefties are up to? Is there anything in particular that they're doing? Because, they're going to fight back. I know they are. Let's see what they're doing. Here's some footage of what's going on in San Francisco right now. 3, 2, 1. People screaming at the top of their lungs, San Francisco, looking over a beautiful mountainside. California's a beautiful state. That's why I guess everyone went nuts over there. So they're going to fight back. The resistance is going to fight back. Trump is discussing whether or not to reverse birthright citizenship. The Arizona Attorney General, Chris Mays, is going to, I guess, try to do something to interfere with Trump. Let me play you a taste of what the resistance sounds like.
To undo birthright citizenship. I mean, guys, this is bizarre. This is a bizarre attempt to undermine 150 years of jurisprudence and the 14th Amendment to the United States Constitution.
Yeah, so he's acting as though Chris Mays, is, who is the Attorney General of Arizona, acting as though it is set in stone that the location of the female body when a baby is born is sufficient to become an American citizen for the rest of your life for that baby. It's absurd. It's not literate when it comes to the law. A lot of my colleagues in talk radio, people like Mark Levin, have been, dedicated hours and hours and hours to studying this and conveying this to an audience. But it is something that we've just accepted as true because we do this in this country, that we take bad ideas and we just accept them. And then it takes people like Trump to come along and say, hey, we're not doing this anymore. So this could be a battle. They could try to, I don't know if Trump can undo this in one fell swoop. I'm not legally literate enough to know that. I know he's going to try, and I think it'll get held up. And so there'll be a battle on certain fronts. He can't undo everything with the stroke of a pen. But I like that that's where his priorities are, because this would have been a massive outrage. It would have been completely unthinkable that we would have had the stones to do this last time around. But Trump's shock and awe approach in the early hours of his new administration is going to yield tons and tons of fruit. So this is why they can't block him all the time, because they need to try to get a lot of media to pay attention. They need to get the media to get fired up, ginned up, angry. The left is lacking leadership. They're completely disorganized and they're busy because they're trying to fend off Trump at all these various battlefields. They're fighting a war against Trump on too many fronts, and he's going on pure offense. It's just great wartime strategy. He's on a wartime footing right now. He's getting what he wants in place. So we could have some battles along the way. So there'll be some objections. But overall, we definitely want to end birthright citizenship because it doesn't make any sense. There's many exceptions to people who are born in the United States who don't become citizens. Again, another one, I'll mark it down to do a more dedicated show on it. But overall, if you think about it as logically, it doesn't make sense. If someone comes here illegally as a criminal, a fugitive from the law, happens to give birth while they're here, that baby deserves the protections that are afforded American citizens, is an insane way to run a country. It's only run that way for pure politics. So, other stuff, Trump is granting sweeping pardons to January the 6th defendants, including the rioters who violently attacked police, but there's very few of those. And a lot of them, it's time served, in my opinion. I was thinking about this. My call was, I was on the same page as J.D. Vance, which is nonviolent, immediately get pardoned, and the violent ones, you got to take it case by case. I feel like most people, time served is adequate. But we know that not everyone who was locked away for a long time was violent at all. Enrique Tarrio, who is the leader of the Proud Boys, for example, I think he got 20 years or something, and for conspiracy, not for violence, for conspiracy. And it was basically comes down to, there were some emails that he was emailed about stuff that was going on. There's no real evidence that I saw that proved that he was part of the conspiracy to organize a lot, but he was a name and he was good publicity for the J6 investigators in the deep state to try to throw him into jail for as long as they could. So that's what they did. It was a pure political persecution. So it was no doubt that that's all it was. So they got to lock him up for a long time. So a guy like that, you got to get these people out right away. And even the violent ones, I disavow political violence. I don't think people should show up at the Capitol when they're upset and do anything violent, even if it's, smashing a window, which is it's not the end of the world, but I disavow all of it. But I will say, when you get Donald Trump coming in on his inauguration day, the same day that Joe Biden pardons his entire crime family, then you have to think about whether or not you care at all about all of these pardons for J6, because I do not. Think about the nature of the Biden crime family pardons. They date back to January 1, 2014. That's 10 years. Imagine what the sign that shows the country. You don't have to imagine, it's here. What does that show the country? It shows the country that the Biden family members that Joe Biden knows for certain over a 10-year window, 11-year window, that there is nothing they did worthy of a prosecution during that time, not a single things that they did. It couldn't have been one thing. One of them could find, you go in their freezer and find a bunch of chopped up body parts. It doesn't matter. They're good to go. Why is that acceptable? Of course, there's two tiers of justice in this country. We always knew that. But we've never had such an announcement where it's announced itself in such a way as this. And it should offend all of you. I think even honest lefties know this is way too much. And so that's why we're not going to care if you pardon the J6 guys. We're not. Even the ones who maybe overdid it. We're not going to care. Because we know the vast, vast, vast majority were political prisoners. And the handful that weren't, we don't care if you let them out now. We don't. If you're letting out the Biden crime family for obvious crimes, making it so we can't even bother investigating them so the truth won't get out there because it just doesn't make a difference, then this is the type of stuff you're going to get, so no whining. It's noteworthy that the 2014 date, that's when the China deal that the Bidens cut, the Russia deal, and the Ukraine deal, all of that was starting to go down. So they're commercial deals where they were clearly selling Biden's access to the upper echelons of the American government to foreign connected businesses that were no doubt operating with the full knowledge and blessing of those foreign governments. And so that means that obviously all of these people, Hunter in particular, should have been investigated for FARA violations, foreign lobbying, representing foreign governments, failing to disclose that. They're going to skate, all of them. They're off the hook, all of them, forever. So unless we find something before that 2014 window, which we probably can, to be honest, but I don't think we're going to bother. So it is very noteworthy, the timing of it, and it makes you just not care about any future pardon Trump's going to give, especially given that audio that I played yesterday of Joe Biden saying that his administration is not going to behave in that way, that they're not going to allow for any of those preemptive pardons. I played that yesterday. You can check out yesterday's show if you haven't watched it. I've got even more. We've got a lot of lefties. Someone compiled this. Forgive me for not giving credit. If you know who did this, then please share with me. I always like to give credit where credit is due. It is the honorable thing. But this was something I saw floating around online of a clip of all these people talking about pardons. So let's listen to all these. These are all some of your lefty favorites. I'll try to narrate along, but here you go.
Have you ever heard of somebody getting a preemptive pardon who was innocent of all crime, who's just an innocent person? Have you ever heard of that? Just somebody getting a blanket pardon and they're an innocent person?
But no, it's the president's own family. It's people that have been covering up for the president in addition to his own family.
Is there an innocent explanation for someone to seek preemptive pardons for family members? Would you do that if you knew you were innocent and just worried about outside forces?
The answer to that is going to be no. If you haven't done anything wrong, you sit there and go, what do you need a preemptive pardon for?
If he pardoned.
Okay, so that was Brian Williams, the anchor who got disgraced and lied about taking flack from when he was flying over a war zone, that he had a helicopter that kept getting shot. He was a star breaking the news. And that was Andrew Weissmann, who is one of the main architects of the lawfare against President Trump. One of the reasons why we have such a broken legal system is because of that guy, and just flat out saying that, no, this would never happen unless you're super guilty.
If he pardons people preemptively, he's essentially telling the public that these people have committed crimes, and we may not be aware of what they are.
He's essentially telling the public that these people have committed crimes, and we may not be aware of what they are.
But the pardon is clear evidence that crimes have been committed.
I imagine if he decides to issue these preemptive pardons, it will be cast in a way that he is protecting his family and protecting their reputations from, villainous exterior forces that are against him.
First off, we should just take a deep breath and acknowledge the audacity of a president who's so clearly concerned about his own criminal culpability and that of his family members that pardons are a major obsession with him.
This is sensational. This is really even better than I thought. Just remember, those of you who are not getting this, they're talking about Trump in the Trump transition to Joe Biden, thinking that Trump is going to pardon all of his family members. This is how they're talking about it. They're not talking about the Biden family. They're talking about the Trump family. And Biden did all of these things to an extent that none of us thought was possible.
The idea of a kind of prospective pardon, this sort of permanent federal get-out-of-jail-free card, that seems to be what we're talking about in the case of this, right, with Giuliani and his 3 eldest children who, as far as we know, have not been convicted of a crime. Maybe they've committed a lot, and they don't want to face action. I don't know. It's weird. I wouldn't ask for a pardon. I don't think I deserve one because I don't think I've done anything criminal. But, like, where does that come from, that concept that you can just kind of wave your magic pardon wand?
We have Tish James. We have Xavier Becerra. Mimi Rocha is literally my DA in my town. There will be opportunities to prosecute these people regardless if they abuse the pardon power as they are thinking.
All right, so that's Elie Mystal on MSNBC. He's their justice correspondent or for The Nation, and he thinks we should go after people anyway if they do the pardons. Cool, great, green light. Let's go after them anyway.
Hopefully, Elie, there will be a skyfall on this entire crime family, and there will be another day for them to die.
The president.
Wow, another day for them to die? Wow, what is that about? That's dark. I think that's a pop culture reference of some sort. Wow, MSNBC. All right, it goes on. We'll blitz it. You guys get the point. So, what's going on? We've got them absolutely with their backs up against the wall. And you love to see it. You love to see it. Trump said at a couple of events yesterday that he had considered adding a line or two or a paragraph, he said, in his inaugural address about how Joe Biden shouldn't pardon his own family. And he took it out because he thought the message was pretty unifying. I kind of agree. But it was fun to see him talk about it in other venues. I heard him say it a couple times, but here's one of them.
And I was going to talk about the things that Joe did today with the pardons of people that were very, very guilty of very bad crimes, like the Unselect Committee of Political Thugs. But I was talking about that. I was going to talk about that. They said, please don't bring that up right now. You can bring it up tomorrow. I said, how about now in front of the I'll bring it up right now. You know, this little time delay is good because we're getting great reviews on the speech. Now watch. They'll take the speech and say, I didn't like it because he left there and he's talked to people. But we're giving you a little more information than we gave upstairs. But no, they pardoned a lot of people. They pardoned, before we even get to today, they pardoned, 33 murderers, absolute murderers, the worst murderers. You know, when you get the death sentence, you know, what's going on? Why are we doing this? Why are we trying to help a guy like Milley? Why are we doing Milley? He was pardoned. What he said, terrible what he said. Why are we helping some of the people? Why are we helping Liz Cheney? I mean, Liz Cheney is a disaster. She's a crying lunatic and crying Adam Kinzinger. He's a super crying. I never saw the guy not crying. He's always crying.
I've never seen the guy not cry. Oh, he's so fun. Yeah, there's a lot in there. So, you know, Milley got a pardon. Milley, it was more fun, though. He had this big portrait of himself made. It was put up in somewhere. Where was it? Where do we see it? Do we see it at the Pentagon? Is that where it was? But there's a huge portrait. He did all the Ukraine symbolism in it, and Trump just yanked that down. It's a big blank space on the wall. But Milley had probably off the book conversations with Chinese officials that weren't sanctioned. And I'm guessing confidential information was shared during that. So that's why he probably needed the pardon. And all we're just to believe it happened now. There's no other way to interpret it. You have to believe these things happened. Liz Cheney almost clearly tampered with witnesses during the J6 committee and destroyed evidence. It's basically a guarantee she destroyed evidence, and she probably tampered with witnesses. And that's why she needed the pardon. So, in Biden's eyes, good. Democrats own the Cheneys. That is good for us. We'll be the party that doesn't want more wars. Trump is going to end all wars. He said this, we're going to end all wars. How cool would that be? Let's end all wars. You heard it here first. We're ending all wars. We're second. Trump did it first. Dr. Fauci, he got a pardon. Covered up gain-of-function research and then lied about to Rand Paul's face. Those of you who are Breitbart News Daily listeners, you heard me obsess over these clips over the years. But he covered up the gain-of-function. We funded it. He covered it up. He was under oath. And he had that exchange with Rand Paul where he said there was no gain-of-function research going on. We weren't funding it. So he probably covered up a bunch of records as well. all this is great. All this is great. I looked into Sarah Biden. She was signed all these loan checks to Joe that were obviously just designed to give money, wasn't going to pay back. I get it. All the pardons make sense. There's just not stuff that's done. Everything's done for a reason. It's just things are done for a reason. Things are done for a reason. That's it. That's what I'm talking about. They're not accidental. These are not coincidental. These people are not guilty. They're not guilty if they're getting these pardons. All right, let's check in some more on how our lefties are doing.
Incoming President Trump has said he will sign dozens of executive orders and executive actions about energy and the border and discriminating against transgender people and making it easier to fire federal workers and stopping the ban on TikTok, even though that.
So what's wrong with this? It's what are the, I'm going to play this again because I want to hear her laundry.
Trump has said he will sign dozens of executive orders and executive actions about energy and the border and discriminating against transgender people.
Yeah, we're discriminating against them. I'm sorry, we are. We think that they have mental health issues, and that means you don't get to have certain jobs. I'm sorry, you can love them. You can, if they're in your family, you can try to help them. But they're not going to be in our armed forces anymore. We're not going to allow for them to just declare that they have a different biological sex for government records. It's not that bad, Rachel. It's fine. It's completely fine. And having executive orders on the border and energy is elections have consequences. Do better next time. Why don't you work more than one day a week next election? So is this not exasperating if you're on the left, if she's your biggest star and then she decided to work one day a week in the run up to the election and then they lost? Wouldn't you point the finger at her?
And making it easier to fire federal workers and stopping the ban on TikTok, even though that ban is actually law and executive orders can't supersede the law.
That is true, by the way. I don't know how Trump stops the TikTok ban. He's asked for a delay, and TikTok has got to try to sell to an American owner, or else I think it is going to go away. And it should. So more on that down the road.
The theme in both of them and the obsession of Trump's rhetoric is always a theme of national decline and national humiliation. And there's something strange about hearing it the second time. Of course, the first one was the American carnage. It's a little like a cult leader who keeps predicting different days for the end of the world. Mm-hmm. Because it's kind of like, okay.
I'm always stunned at how they let these people on the air and they pay them so much money. Is this really what the left likes in terms of commentary? They didn't watch the speech. They just tell you whatever they had pre-scripted in their brain before Trump gave the speech. It was a relentlessly optimistic speech. It was so optimistic, it made me question whether or not I'm optimistic enough, and I'm generally an optimistic person. It's interesting. I've said this before in the show. I'll say it again. I play a realist on the show because I always want to give you the balance. I want to give you the worst case scenario so you can prepare. And there's a lot of people on the right who don't do that. They just pick a lane and stay with it. And I don't want to do that. I'm not comfortable with it. But kind of on a personal level, I'm a very optimistic person. I heard Trump's speech. It was so optimistic. I thought, am I giving this country enough credit? I don't think I'm giving this country enough credit. And I spent all day giving this country credit. That's how optimistic it was. And Chris Hayes is saying it was like a cult leader, just saying when the end of the world's coming. Like, what is that about? I won't torture you with anymore. Anyway, we can't stop winning. Some of the media are figuring out. They have this difficult battle where they have to decide whether or not they're going to tell the truth and hope some of the audience comes back, or do what MSNBC is doing, is lying and pandering to the people who are remaining. New York Times' David Brooks, who's used to be a conservative but kind of sides with Democrats now. He was on PBS saying that Trump gave distrustful Americans concrete policies. As I said this about yesterday's speech, it's a very important show. My breakdown of the speech on yesterday's show. I know that some of you love that stuff. Maybe it's not as fun sometimes as other shows, but I think they're very meaningful when I break down major speeches. That's why I do it. Trump gave more concrete policy proposals than I've ever heard, and they were not particularly partisan. They were not just what I thought of as Republican policies growing up. They were very much cherry picking from the best policies from either side. We're doing no wars. We're doing tariffs. We're doing closed borders. We are going to prioritize achievement and excellence and not diversity in hiring, particularly in the military. The military is not going to be part of social experiments. We're going to return to science. Is that partisan? No, it's specific, though. It's concrete. Again, I will plug Fashion Notes from John Binder, who has come off of break to write about how sensational Melania was. It's everything she does is intentional. She is a fashion genius. She's a fashion genius. It is noteworthy that she's not doing anything by accident. All the choices, all the designers, all the combinations, that incredible hat she had. I made John explain to me the hat so I could relay it on the show. I said, John, explain the hat to me. I love it. I just want to understand it. He said she was supposed to wear a hat in 2017, but when they got it from Ralph Lauren, they tried it on her and she looked like a Pan Am flight attendant. So she and Hervé Pierre have been wanting to do a hat look for years, specifically for the inaugural day. So this was years in the making, guys. The main functionality of the hat is to keep crowds of people, many of whom I'm sure she's unaware of, away because no one can get too close. It's a safety issue, in other words. It's a severe look, the opposite of 2017 powder blue dress and bolero. I think she's going to signal a level of strength that we really haven't seen from a First Lady of the United States. Brilliant. She survived her husband almost dying and the worst media onslaught ever, and it's like she's out for revenge. F around and find out. She's not playing the pretty in pink role anymore. She means business. Oh, my God. If I wasn't already in love. So great. You started to see it on social media, all these celebrities coming out. They're putting the pictures of Melania up. And why wouldn't they? What a star. What a star. I was thinking about this. If Anna Wintour of Vogue finally caves and puts her on the cover, which Melania's already said she doesn't care about Vogue anymore, but after putting Dr. Jill on the cover multiple times, and Kamala Harris, which Kamala's team complained and they had to redo it. They had to redo the Vogue cover. That's another one worth bringing up down the road by more time. I gotta keep a running list of things I don't have time to talk about on my talk show. Anyway, do you think that'll officially end the culture war? Do you think it'll be over? That'll be the end. We'll have solved whatever bickering we've done left and right in the culture war the last 20, 30 years when Melania ends up on the cover of Vogue? Or is this just something that's just never going to get fixed? We saw the media dust off their old playbook yesterday with Elon Musk, who gave some sort of a strange salute. I'll call it strange. Let's play some of this for you. Let's Musk at one of the inaugural parades.
For making it happen. Thank you.
So Musk, very enthusiastic, grabs at his chest right over his heart area, and he does something with his arm that I'm not going to do on the stream just in case. I don't think it's a good move. Just in case it gets misinterpreted. Look, I don't know what he was doing, but I'll tell you this. Musk is not a Nazi. I will say that. I'm always curious what the explanation is going to be when you do something like that, but it's not that he's a Nazi all of a sudden. And if he was, that wouldn't be how he would express it. But that's what happened online. Immediately went to Nazi talk. So went to Nazi talk right away. Is Musk a Nazi? Guys, I got news for you. He's not a Nazi. He's a spaz. It's a guy who's probably on the spectrum somewhere. I don't know if he's the world's most coordinated guy. When you have that level of genius, your brain is going to be overgrown in the genius technology area, in the leadership area, and it's probably going to be undergrown in other areas. Maybe it's in the physical smoothness. I've met a lot of geniuses in my life. They're rare, but when they are, their genius is always at the expense of some other basic trait. So, and I think Musk is just a little spazzy. Though he's not a Nazi, though. And that's what the media tried to do. Day one, they call us all Nazis. Pretty fun. Is it fun or is it bad? I think it's fun. So we're keeping an eye on everything that Trump is promising, everything he's delivering. We'll keep a running list going for you. Ooh, John Bolton security clearance got removed. All the 51 Russia hoaxers at the end who really helped seal the deal for Joe Biden to win the election, that tried to dismantle my friend Emma Jo Morris's reporting when she was the New York Post, former Breitbart reporter as well. The people who said that the Hunter Biden laptop had all the hallmarks of Russian disinformation. This includes Michael Hayden, who I think was a Bush administration guy, CIA director and national security advisor. So I think for Bush. And then he became a Never Trump guy. And now he's on the board of NewsGuard, one of the most evil organizations around that's designed specifically to try to make it so that advertisers don't advertise on conservative websites like Breitbart. It's a deep state op. It's funded by the government. They have partnerships with the government. They get government money. And it is designed to control the fake news. So what's going to happen to NewsGuard? I know they're buying advertisements in the Washington Examiner, which is scary stuff. And the Washington Examiner should not accept that. They should not accept money from NewsGuard. It's a very tough business, and I rarely recommend people in the conservative media ecosystem turn down money, but can't take money from NewsGuard. It is a deep state hoax. They're trying to use government funds from the deep state, funnel it into an organization that's ostensibly independent but is not. It's completely dependent on the government. And the goal is to try to put people like me and Breitbart out of business, the exact people that helped Trump deliver this victory. So not good. All right. The Mark Milley portrait down after 10 days in the Pentagon. That's it. Trump's bringing back the Winston Churchill bust to the Oval Office that Obama removed. Another thing where you think about it, Trump didn't do this last time. He should have, and he didn't. And now he's not messing around. He's getting down to business. One other thing I'll note, I said I was going to mention that there's something not great going on, and that's the amount of confirmations that were done. It was only one, and that was Marco Rubio, 99-0 in the Senate. Who wasn't there? Someone hurt or sick or something? But it's sort of a no-brainer, right? Because he's pretty mild, likes working with Democrats. Great representative for the country. You're not getting any better than that if you're a Democrat. So Republicans, he's great too. So, but it's noteworthy that we've got a Democrat in Chuck Schumer, who is their Senate minority leader, who is holding up the votes so that we don't have a director of national intelligence right now. We don't have any of the positions where we saw an immediate resignation or a firing from the Biden administration are abandoned. If you've got 50 Republican votes, you put them up to a vote. It doesn't matter if they're controversial or not. And I'm guessing 80% of Trump's picks, maybe 75% at least. We know they got 50 votes. Even Hegseth, we know Hegseth has got 50. Put them up for a vote. Let's get them in there and let them get to work. We're vulnerable. We had terror attacks on our soil this month. You've got to get these things up for a vote. And Chuck Schumer is stalling it. Tom Cotton's pointed out that the standard of only one confirmation on Inauguration Day, an all-time low as far as we can tell. We need to remind them of this every time a Democrat gets elected now, is that we only need to put up one of theirs. But it's the wrong thing to do. It's wrong-headed. It shows they're very desperate. They're rudderless. They're leadership-less on the Democrat side. So, but it does make our country more vulnerable because he won't let these things through. National security posts, we got to have representations. Elections matter. They have consequences. People are getting confirmed. So just stop grandstanding for a second. Get these people in. Chuck you, Schumer. Does that work? That kind of works. All right. Let's see. So we'll keep you posted. But some of these guys like Scott Bessent, I mean, these are automatic. These are automatic. We know Hegseth got the votes. We haven't even had hearings for Tulsi Gabbard or Kash Patel. What's that about? Let's get organized, guys. And you can't only put on the Democrats. It's mostly Democrats. But the Republicans clearly are not sharp also in terms of getting these things done. I like a lot of the rhetoric that I'm seeing from Republicans, but not adequate. All right, I got a lot of email. I want to respond to a ton of it, but keep going long. It's busy shows. But let me get to some of it. This is Courtney Toure, Lexington, Kentucky. Hey, Alex. What do you make of Roberts rushing Trump on the oath? He didn't give Melania any time to get up to Trump. And as a result, Trump didn't get his hand placed on the Bible she was holding. I've heard numerous people on the left making a big deal about this in a gotcha sort of way. See, he really is Hitler. And in the end, he is still president, but I don't get why Roberts did that. Lots of people on the right were also very upset that Roberts did that. It seems terribly rude and unnecessary to rush that and rob them, the family, scrambling to get up there at that moment. Absolutely. It was very strange. I was doing my Breitbart Confidential show for the Breitbart Fight Club while the swearing in took place. I was trying to get it done. And I know they try to keep a tight ship because it's a really long work day. It's not all fun and games in D.C. on Inauguration Day. And I was trying to get stuff done. I was watching it. There's a TV as I'm staring at the camera right now. Right behind the camera, there's a TV. And I had it on. I had it on mute. And I was kind of taking it out. I was thinking, what's going on here? This thing's going really fast. And Roberts rushes up there and he starts swearing in Trump before Melania comes up. And Melania had a couple of Bibles. One of them was a childhood Bible, this tiny Bible that Trump had. It would have been such a meaningful story. So Trump didn't even get to put his hand on the Bible. And why didn't anyone put the brakes on? Someone should have spoken up and put the brakes on. I don't know who's responsible, but I know that Chief Justice Roberts did not he did not honor the country in that way, he did not honor Trump. So I don't want to spend too much time on it, I guess, because it's still a happy occasion. He's sworn in. But in a time where we were more precise, where we were more formal, this would not have been acceptable. And I don't look at it as a good sign. That's not a good sign. J.D. Vance had more time. He had 25 seconds, 30 seconds or so for his family to get in position, those adorable kids. So all that was good. But then Trump comes up and he's rushing right through it. The main thing is he's president. That's what matters the most. But I do find it somewhat disturbing that we could not languish in the moment a little bit. What do you have to do? Is he trying to get back to TikTok? I was watching this and it was kind of like when you put on a YouTube video and you set it to 1.5 speed or double speed to try to get through it faster. That made me think of it. How do you guys like to listen to my show? Do you listen on single speed or do you speed it up? When I hear back the show to hear how it sounds, then I like 1.25. I don't like the 1 speed, but I kind of talk a little fast, so I can't go much faster than that. A lot of my favorite hosts, Dennis Prager, I do double speed at least. Double speed for Dennis. For me, I do 1.25. But it looked like it was sped up, didn't it? Didn't it look like the Roberts swearing in ceremony was sped? One of the great moments of the American calendar. And we just roll right through it. 30 seconds was too much. Got to do it in 8 seconds. All right. Let's see. Next one. Why did I do this again? I got to include people's names. All right. Eric Korb emails, "Hi, Alex. Top 3 priorities for Trump. 1, pardon J6 defendants." Looks like he's doing that. Giuliani and others. Number 2, I can't make this out. So number 3, build his library in New York City. Would love a thumbs up for or down for you. Eric, I don't understand your second point, so email me back. And I think that, Eric says he's told 10,001 friends and family members about the show. Thank you, Eric. Very kind of you. But his other idea, building the Trump Library in New York, I love it. I love it. Absolutely love it. It's going to be very tempting to do it in Florida because South Florida really feels like it's been commandeered by Trump world. It feels like Trump country. But he is a New York figure. He's not a Florida figure. He's a New York figure. And even though I don't love New York, it's never been my place. And I think it's very filthy. I don't like the politics of it. I don't love the cold. I'm okay with the cold. I don't love it. It is a very expensive place to visit. There is something magical about it. It is in many ways the center of the universe. And Trump is the star of that city. Has been for his lifetime. I think that's official. And he basically got kicked out of the city, his own city, with towers, several Trump buildings throughout the New York skyline. I think it's where he's at his most comfortable. So I would love it if his presidential library was there. I think that's amazing. I think we're a ways off from getting there, but I think that would be terrific if that was the case. So I think it's a great idea. And I back it. All right, let's see if I can. All right, I'm going to have to, I don't know who emailed me this. I apologize completely. But DJT did not need to rub salt in the wound of the Democratic Party. I understand why he did. I would hope he would rise above the fray. My real question about the whole affair is, why does Michelle Obama get a pass for not showing up? Okay, so the start of this email is about how Trump did call out all the people on the stage, which I thought was great. And I mentioned this on yesterday's show, but I think he was subtle. He didn't call them out by name. He didn't point the finger and say, you, Barack Obama, did this. You, Joe Biden, did this. You, Kamala Harris, did this. He just talked about in broader terms how he was targeted with lawfare, the weaponization of the Justice Department, the weaponization of the government against political adversaries. And all that is just factually accurate. And stating that these are my priorities for my incoming administration was appropriate. And I think he did it in a classy enough way while letting the bad guys know he was onto them. So I love the way he handled it. Noteworthy, Michelle wasn't there. Classless. She's not a classy lady. She impersonates one. I wonder if it's that weird photo that Obama put out. You guys can see this on my Twitter. The most bizarre thing. They showed up at a restaurant for a photo op. I bet they didn't even have a meal. But there's lots of rumors that they're on the outs with one another. Michelle's a very odd person. She doesn't like this country. I love that she didn't show up because I think that she's a potential ace up the Democrats' sleeve for their comeback that they're going to need to make. I don't think they have very charismatic leaders. And Michelle Obama could be a person who, should she choose to make this a multi-year long process, take the mantle of the Democrat Party and show some leadership, potentially run for president, potentially even be a front runner in a certain scenario. But the ace up our sleeve is that she really doesn't like this country. And as much as we can remind people of that, even though she can seem smart and poised and competent, she really doesn't like America. The president of the United States must love America, fundamentally. And if you don't, then we're going to see through it, I hope. And when we do see through it, we're going to vote you out. So I think that's her Achilles heel. So I hope that people understand that her not showing up at the inauguration when the rest of the Democrats did, and some of them even seem to be having a good time, Bill Clinton some smiles throughout the day, then it shows you what a not classy lady she is. She was the first. She was the first lady of the USA, and along with the title comes a responsibility. The emailer writes, "It was petty and ill-advised. I believe the biggest loser in the election of 2024 were the Obamas. And maybe that's the way it should be." Very interesting question. Were the Obamas the biggest losers? It's a great question because you can make the case that Joe Biden, who got his family pardoned, they got away with everything. Hunter got away with his art grift. There's a case to be made that Biden saved a little bit of face because he didn't win, but Harris didn't win either. And so it didn't look quite as bad for him. So really interesting thought. This was a David Johnson who finally found the emailer. Thank you, David. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe the Obamas, because it's really their party. They're in charge of the modern day Democrat Party. They were the ones who I think were the ones who ushered in our era of wokeness and division, where you never miss an opportunity to divide. I've spoken about this at great length over time. A lot of interviews you'll see me do on YouTube. This comes up quite a bit. This theory I have that Obama had many decisions to unify the country, many deciding moments, and he almost always opted for the divisive moment. And I think that led us down the road to where you're getting the J6 prosecutions and the lawfare, and Trump having to call some people out during his speech. So in a way, I feel like the country is rejecting a lot of Obama's brand of politics. So I don't know. I kind of like it. Let's work with that. If you have any thoughts, email me, aloha@alexmarlowe.com. These shows are very exciting, and I'm happy to be here, happy to be with all of you. You're a terrific audience. I appreciate all the support. The best thing you can do to help the show, tell 10,000 friends and family members when I bring on a new advertiser. If you're at all interested, check them out. This will help us grow and thrive and get bigger and better in 2025. We're off to a great start. Can't do it without you. Thanks to our producer, Misty. We'll talk to you tomorrow.